sealing the deal. Know a little about a lot, and a lot about a little. So most conversations put me somewhere in the middle. My pop culture knowledge leaves me feeling kinda scary. It lets me chat with working class and gossip secretaries. Recon the boardroom, looking for the top thing. Loosen up execs when I ask about the golf swing. Start spewing secrets, just like a torrent. Can't really blame them, we all wanna feel important. It might seem different from what you were envisioning. The key to communicate, it's all about the listening.
I'm gonna use every trick in the book. I'll try my best to get you hooked. I'm gonna use every trick in the book. I'll try my best to get
Welcome
you
to the
get you
social-engineer.org podcast number, what are we on, 28?
Number 28!
Hey, Dave, what's up with that?
I just want to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, seriously, it sounded like someone was, got their certain anatomy in a vice grip or something.
I did it kind of off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
I didn't think about that at all, so I just did it.
Yeah, it portrayed that you didn't think about it. Yeah, it was clear.
That's shocking, Chris.
Yes.
That's shocking.
Oh, man.
It's real shocking.
You know, I'm really sorry I even asked you guys about this. I expected more from Jim. Anyhow, we got Jim with us today. Good morning, Jim.
Hi.
Hi. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing shockingly good.
Yeah, shockingly, yes. And our newest panel member, Ping Look.
Hola. Hello from Seattle.
From Seattle. I know it's like 2 a.m. there, isn't it?
Pretty much, and it's freezing cold with driving wind and rain.
And you're outside doing the podcast.
Yes, I'm huddled underneath a cardboard box.
Yeah, so in essence, you've beat Dave in all of his attempts to do a podcast from a weird place by doing it outside in Seattle.
I mean,
Yes.
I called from the hospital while my wife was giving birth.
That is true. And you just admitted that publicly on the podcast, and we were supposed to...
Yeah, but she doesn't listen to this, so it's okay.
Well, now when I send her the link, she will.
Were her screams in the background?
No.
They were wheeling her into the room, and he's calling, and he's like, dude, don't tell her that I'm on the podcast. She'll kill me. He did call, too, from when he had an EKG being done.
Yeah, I had some heart issues. I was calling from the actual urgent care center.
He was inside the machine. The cell phone set off the alarm, and they freaked out.
Yeah, they thought he needed open heart surgery, so they started doing surgery on him, and it was just a cell phone issue.
I think I called when Navarro was on from a golf course smoking a cigar.
Yeah, I don't think he liked that too much, but...
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's good.
We need to arrange to do the podcast from a submarine.
Oh, man, I thought you were going to
I'm
bring
trying to
some...
find the radar soundboard right now.
I thought you were going
Exactly.
to bring some level of decorum to the podcast, Ping.
Find
Well-
the Red October one, Dave.
Instead...
Red October?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some things that we got going on. Let's see, what's the smallest piece of news that we have? Set's got a new version out.
It does, yes. 2.2.
You didn't get that. Okay. Failed attempt on my part.
What?
Nothing.
That was shockingly bad.
Yeah, shockingly bad. Oh,
Here's something that says Red October. I'm not sure what it is. Hang on.
I present you.
No, that's not the radar.
seriously? Now you're going to go through sound clips live on the podcast? Really?
Well,
Wow.
we haven't used the shock noise once, even though it was shockingly bad.
I did use the shock one.
No.
I did it at the very beginning. It must not have came through.
So what's the... So is this version called The Son of Flynn? Wow. What'd you do? Did you kill a dolphin?
Yes, this version is called Son of Flynn.
And what's the biggest upgrade? Like, what's the thing that everyone's looking forward to? Why do we want this version?
Crickets.
Wow. Yeah, all the downloads for Set just can't stop and canceled. Everyone moved on.
No,
The version number's higher.
this version incorporates. I basically picked up Java
The
for this
version
version.
number's higher.
I picked up Java for this version. Basically, I'm not a big Java guy, and I basically rewrote the Java applet, and it incorporates a attack vector that Matthew Graeber basically came up with, which is you can use PowerShell to inject basically assembly straight into memory without ever having to touch disk. So what the Java applet now does is it recompiles a Java applet on a individual basis, and it embeds shellcode into the Java applet. And then if it detects PowerShell, it injects shellcode straight into memory without ever having to touch disk. So essentially, you can invade any type of AV or HIPS or things like that. And basically, it works on all the newer operating systems since PowerShell is installed on Windows 7, Windows Vista by default.
But can it bypass Norton? That's the big question.
Yes, it can.
Drum roll.
No, come on, it can't. It can't get past Norton. It's impossible.
And also,
are you vying for a new sponsor there, Chris?
Norton, the best AV on Earth.
that was pretty bad. That was
That was shockingly bad. I'll even say it.
perfect timing.
Okay, so anyhow, 2.2 out, ready for download. People can just update the SVN, or if they don't have it yet, which would be, I don't know, like one person on Earth that hasn't downloaded it yet, because there's like a new version every 43.2 seconds.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah, but pretty much that's it. Let's see, other big news. The social engineering CTF report was issued this week, finally. We had a delay in getting that out, but it's out on the social-engineer.com site. You can get a link from the .org or the .com and download that report. 34 pages. I'm telling you, that thing has gotten a lot of press. I got a nice article written in CSO magazine about it. Guy did a nice article out of Australia yesterday about it, and we were even mentioned in the Wall Street Journal about the report. So I think the press this year about the CTF report is pretty exciting for us, at least. A lot of downloads. We're several thousand downloads already of the report.
It turned out really well.
Yeah, you know, we the interns, we really...
It was shockingly well.
Shockingly. I think there's even a quote in the Wall Street Journal that says something like that how shocked we were at the report quality. I think that's what it says, right? Shockingly?
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Is there a sound effect for that?
What?
Some kind of dolphin being squeezed or something like that?
No. I got a different one.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good shocking
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that is shockingly.
That is shocking
well.
good.
So you can get the report, social-engineer.com, and go through that. I think what we did a little different in the report structure this year is instead of going through like every little aspect of the phone calls and the information gathered, is we really focused on what we can learn from the information on a corporate level and how the information affects security overall, and then gave a lot more mitigating ideas of things that could be done in order to protect from some of the things that we saw out there. Haven't yet, a couple people asked, and we haven't yet been contacted by any companies that we called, yet in order to talk about the results or what we found. So maybe that will be coming. Last year, I think it took a few weeks, right, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Oh, your enthusiasm this morning is great.
I
He's
do
having
what I
his
can
ball
with
bearings
what I
worked
got.
on.
Yeah, that's true. Jim's ball bearings in his car.
It's so
went bad.
stressful.
Yeah, it's shockingly stressful.
Shockingly
Yeah.
stressful.
That Jim's ball bearings they're flaking.
Because they're flaking, so they had to get repaired.
Yeah, and it was making a noise. So
Yeah.
his car's in the shop, and he's an hour behind us, but he's nothing to complain about because Ping's like 18 hours behind us, and she's still awake and happy.
Well,
It's
I'm
not
also
that big of a
reporting,
difference in Seattle.
but I'm also reporting out of a cardboard box that's been rained on.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big difference if you ask me. Cardboard
Well, the
boxes.
cold keeps you awake.
Oh boy, I don't know. I thought bringing her on was going to be good. Let's talk about some other stuff. Oh, I do want to just make a shout out. We did talk about the report a little bit. The interns. We welcomed them on last month, but they really did a great job. Eric has got. I want to get the time and date right. I think by the time this comes out, it will be over. But Eric has got a speech on the SECTF coming up in Phoenix at a 2600 meeting that he'll be presenting some of the results from the CTF, from the report there. And I think we're going to be promoting that a little bit more. He also helped in writing it and editing it, as well as Dan. Doing a lot of research on some of the aspects that we put in the report. So really good work there for those guys. We really appreciate it. Now let's talk a little bit about Brad. If anyone listening to this has not heard, or if you know the nurse, it was last week. Is that when Hacker Halted was?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so last week Brad was down in Miami. He was going to give a speech at Hacker Halted, and during that speech he had I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but it's called a hemorrhagic stroke, where a blood vessel in the brain actually burst, causing the stroke. And you hate to say that if it's going to happen, I guess the way we can word this, according to his wife, is that if it's going to happen, it was fortunate that it happened there in Miami, because where he's from in the U.S., the hospitals are not as good. And right there in Miami, there's a whole hospital that has a wing devoted to these type of strokes, believe it or not. They even have a stroke survivors club in the hospital, if you can believe that, for people that have been through this and have to recover. So they rushed him to the hospital. The hacker halted guys, Leonard Chin, really took control of the situation, went to the hospital with him, got him the best service and care possible. They did surgery, and he ended up in a coma, so that's where he is now, at the hospital still and not out of the coma yet. His wife had to fly in from Montana, and they are been told that they're going to be there for quite a while. So maybe it can be even up to 4 or 5 months as he recovers, because they can't transport him, being in the condition that he's in. So the community
is it like critical condition still?
Yeah, he's in the ICU still. They have him heavily sedated. He's breathing on his own, but they have to put a respirator on because of the condition that he's in. If he can't clear his throat, so if something gets stuck in there, he's not able to breathe, and they won't know until it's too late. So they're actually thinking of putting what are those things called? A stoma? Is that where they put a hole in your throat and they put the tube there? Yeah, I know. Sounds terrible, but his wife said that that's probably the best thing that they can do right now, so he can breathe without any obstruction. And they're trying to keep him sedated enough that the brain will have time to recover. So I can't really go through the hundreds of people that have helped, because it would just take the whole podcast time here. But Leonard Chin and his group down there did an amazing job getting not only Brad to the hospital, but getting Nina set up in a hotel, and taking care of her, getting her flown in from Montana, and having her support group there. Also, the Black Hat crew, people like Ping and the other people that just help promote it on the front of their website. We set up a donation page through the SE.org site, which, someone brought this to my attention yesterday. I didn't really think about it. We have the site social-engineer.org. And then we have this, blurb about Brad, and then a button that says, please click here and put your credit card number in and donate. and I was just so concerned about Brad, it didn't hit me of the implications of that. So here we have, a couple hundred people coming to the site and actually clicking the button and putting their credit card number in. And then a few of them email me before they do it, and they're like, this isn't some kind of test, is it? That later on you're going to print the results and say, look at all these losers that fell for it. And I'm like, no, I swear to God, I didn't think of that. That's I guess that's kind of a funny, a funny thing that would have been a horrible test to do, especially at the expense of talking about Brad this way. But it's a valid question. So, despite the scariness of that, we've had quite a number of people donate to help Brad and Nina out, and we've had people like the DerbyCon group. Dave came through. A lot of organizations have come up, and people. I know everyone here is donating to help Brad, and there's just so many. There's just so many to go through the list. Core Impact people really sent a nice letter and donation to Brad, and to really just go through the list. I don't want to single anyone out because I don't want anyone that hears it to feel like we don't appreciate what they did, because really just amazing. Yeah. We're over $6,100 right now donated to Brad and Nina for their
this community is just friggin' awesome.
Really is. Really, really is. And then yesterday, Nina calls me and she tells me that that she has to move out of the hotel. That Leonard helped her get in this hotel, but it was for 7 days and it's terribly expensive, and she's going to be there for months. So she wanted to get a place, maybe a little apartment that can do month-to-month rentals. And I just put a little tweet out there saying, anyone in Miami, help me. The response was literally overwhelming. I couldn't get over it. I mean, the amount of people that emailed me and called me. Tuna, everyone knows Tuna. The guy went out of his way. I mean, literally out of his way, driving around, checking out apartments, calling people, making appointments with people to check out places. Another Sequel 7, everyone knows him. He hooked me up with a FBI agent that actually went down and met Nina and helped her know what areas were good and bad around the Miami hospital, so that way she doesn't choose an area to live that was kind of dangerous. The help response really was amazing. And believe it or not, last night, just looking through Craigslist and with Tuna's help, we found a place that this older gentleman built a little apartment, and he had a stroke. And he was a survivor of it and went to Jackson Memorial Hospital. And when he heard Nina's story, is just offering to help with a lower rent for that area and even helping her get back and forth to the hospital. All of this coming about because of the community. I mean, really, just the help from the community has been... I don't even know what to say about it. It's like kind of... I don't want to keep saying that it shocks me, because then it sounds like I didn't expect people to be this way. But I don't know. When you think about what we do for a living and who we are, you would think that people would be less trusting. But what I saw here was a group of people that might not even know each other by name, only their nicknames, and they banded together and helped with financial, time, effort, everything to help this guy. Many people from out of the country, not even really knowing Brad except just hearing him or seeing one of his speeches, and just pouring out everything that they have to really help this guy. So I don't want to stand on the soapbox for an hour about this, but I just want to say kudos to the community. Amazing work, really amazing work.
It's also worth
it
throwing
was
out there.
shocking.
It really was shocking, and no joke aside, really was. What were you saying, Jim?
I was going to say it's worth throwing out there. We had Brad on episode 4.
Yep.
If anyone's missed that and they want to hear Brad and hear why people care about him, it's kind of amazing, because Brad's one of those rare people where
You want to hide your
everybody
wife?
that meets him has a positive attitude about him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
How many people you know that just universally are just liked, that don't have any enemies. Everyone thinks they're a good person, that sort of thing. That kind of is Brad. And so people can hear him on episode 4 when he was on. And so hopefully we'll have him back again as soon as he recovers.
That's a good point, Jim. I'm glad you brought up that episode, because one of the comments, when people donate, they can put a comment on it, like a little card to say something to Brad and Nina. And somebody made this comment, which I thought was so true of Brad, is that they said they never met the guy before. They talked to him online, and then they met at DEF CON 2 years ago. And this guy was making a comment that when Brad was talking to him, it was like he was the only person in the room. Brad listened to him, talked to him, and then later on when they met again, Brad remembered details of the conversation, saying things like, hey, how did this work out, or how did that work out, and made him feel like he was important. And Brad had that knack of just talking to people. He still has that knack. I shouldn't talk in past tense, I'm sorry, but he has that knack of talking to people and making them feel like they're the center of the universe at that point in time. And I think that's why people love the guy. It's like when you meet Brad, that he's a genuine dude.
Yep.
He's not fake. What he talks to you about is what he is. Love that guy. So we got a lot of positive energy, prayers, emotions, everything going towards Brad to help in his recovery. And community, I don't know, you guys just rock. You really do. You really, really do. And
Yeah. I want to add in that if any of you who are listening work for corporations, in general, most corporations will match your charitable donation. And as Chris has put in, it's going to be a long road to recovery for Brad and his family. So any help that we can get him is, means the world to everybody who knows Brad.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, because I had a couple questions coming from corporations about donating and how they can do so. So I mean, that's actually a good point. That if any corporations want to donate, to reach out to us, and if I don't know the answer, Ping will, right, Ping?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she knows.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. It's the only reason.
I'm the Oracle Knowledge of Database.
Yes. That will be interesting to see. Now we're going to get all sorts of weird questions, and you're going to have to come up with answers.
I will certainly come up with them because I know everything.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So, Okay, we talked about Brad, and we have a page. I think I should mention the page. It's on social-engineer.org slash Brad donations, Brad Smith donations. You can check that page out, and on that page, even if you don't want to donate, there's a link there for updates. It was kind of funny. I've been talking to Nina every night, and then she emails me an update, and I post it up there. And last night she was dead beat at just running around all day, and she didn't have the time to send me an update. And this morning I get like 10 or 20 emails. Hey, where the heck was the update from last night? So I think people are checking the analytics. Amazing, thousands of people hitting the updates page a day looking for what's going on with Brad. To me, that again shows just the level of concern for this guy. People really want to know what's going on with him. So I kind of emailed that to Nina and said if we have time, we should make this a regular thing. People want to know. So keep checking it out. We got other organizations like Black Hat, DEF CON put a forum up there. SecManiac has it on their blog. TikTok Computers has it on their blog. So some great stuff that we could talk about. You can check it out and get the links all over from there. Should mention before we get our guests on and we talk about that, if you'd like the intro music, Dual Core is the guy who made that. So dualcoremusic.com. And of course, we love promoting our good buddy Digi. Did we ever figure out how we say his nickname? Is it DigiP?
Oh, he
pretty
said
sure it's
so on the
DigiP.
podcast one time.
Yeah, he did, but I can't remember. What was it, Dave?
Yeah, that's because you don't care about him.
It's DigiP.
I do care about him.
You don't care about him, Chris, because you've known him for that long, and you're still asking that question.
I call
know
him
for a
Tom.
fact.
I call him Tom. Okay.
Well, he prefers DigiP.
Oh man.
Well, good news is we've actually started working on the DerbyCon 2012 website.
Oh really?
Check this bad boy out.
Let's see. Let's get the link up. What is it?
Keep that private, by the way.
Oh, I can't tell everyone the link.
No.
I can't tell everyone the link that it's at TikTok. Oh, what?
What?
Sorry, what?
No, and ignore the images in the middle. We're still redoing all those.
Great. So you just basically on live on the podcast posted a great website that no one else can see but us.
That's right.
Sucker.
We're so
Shocking.
special.
It's shocking.
Shocking.
You're shocking with the way you are. So you could check Digi out on TikTokComputers.com.
He's just friggin' awesome, man. I love
He
that
is.
dude.
He really is. He's got a lot of talent, and he's easy to work with. And it was nice to see what you guys did for him at DerbyCon. Except now you're making him really busy, and when I need him, I have to wait, and I really don't. I don't like that.
I have to wait too now.
Yeah, that kind of stinks. I mean, I think we should have like precedents, like when we need him, he drops everything, and he just does our stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyhow, check that dude out if you like. Okay. What else? Offensive security. We just finished the first AUG live class outside of Black Hat. That was pretty cool. How'd that go, Jim?
Well, real good. And you know what was cool? We had someone from the class that originally heard about the class from this podcast. So that's pretty cool.
Huh. Awesome.
That was good. That was good. Yeah.
We need to keep promoting it.
Hey,
So we
fill
have
it up.
Well, what we have coming up is we have the AUG class in Portugal. That's when? February or March?
February.
February. So that's going to be great. The St. Kitts class, which is coming up in the end of this month, right? November,
Yeah.
December. And there's still some seats left. I think very few, though. Only a couple seats
two.
left. Two seats left in that.
I believe so.
So if anyone's interested, they better get on that quick because those are going fast.
And where do they go to register?
Oh, Ping bringing in the intelligence again. www.offensive-security.com. How did that go? No?
You need to do the .com, like back in the Expedia Travelocity days.
Okay. Well, you just did it for me, so I appreciate that.
Make a sound clip out of that.
Yeah, we should. Actually, I'll do that. I'll make a sound clip out of pings.com.
Now we got one for you too.
Yeah, great.
Awesome.
Awesome. We got two .coms. You gonna do it? You gonna do it, Jim?
I'm not gonna fall for it.
Oh, man.
Maybe Dave might. I won't.
Dave will do it.
What?
And you click on the training tab. There's a live training and there's online training. You could click either one of them, get information, and register for those classes there. Also, drum roll, please. That was a good. Thank you. Yes. We are now taking registrations for the first Social Engineering for Penetration Testers course in sunny and beautiful Seattle, Washington.
where classes will be held out of a cardboard box.
Out of a great. We just
during
lost.
the Occupy Seattle, because I'm sure Occupy Seattle will still be happening. We'll do it right there with them.
Ping, you're killing me. I just lost all my sales. Thank you very much.
Hey, everyone wants to be a part of the crowd.
Yeah, well, we're going to do it out of a cardboard box. It'll be a different kind of class. Of course. No, we're not doing it out of a
It'll
cardboard
be
box.
for real.
It's... Thank you, Dave. That was a great sound clip. You should have done that when I announced it, though.
I know. I was trying to get to it in time. Sorry.
March 5th through 9th, Seattle, Washington, on the social-engineer.com site. Click the training tab. You can find out information for that class. And then there's one in April in the UK we're now taking registrations for both of them. Thank you very much. So you check that out, and we're going to have more classes. Other big news we announced last time, which is we've already been signed to teach this class at Black Hat. Yeah, where's the massive applause for that? No, thank you, because Dave failed me.
Hang on.
Oh, yes.
How's that?
Oh, this podcast is turning.
Sorry, I had to get to the tab real quick.
Yeah, we totally need cheerleaders like lining up in the hallway. You need to come out running onto like a big grassy field like a football player would. We need that.
Oh, we'll do that. We'll do that at Black Hat. We'll get some cheerleaders.
And they all have to like spell out, socialengineering.org.
Now I need like 75 cheerleaders to spell out my URL. Half of the community needs to come so I can spell out my URL. How about we just do seorg.org? That will be shorter.
It's confusing, though.
Yeah, I know. Okay. Anyhow, we're excited about announcing those classes coming up, so we're completely booked in the training area up until Black Hat, and then we'll talk about classes after that. Okie dokie. Now, let's talk about our podcast topic today. So last month, we had this great psychologist on that does the study in NLP. We got into a topic about genders and social engineering, and that was, of course, the topic of the poll that's still going on, which is pretty interesting so far. So we invited on one of our old buddies, Sharon Conhidi. She's a female social engineer, and we want to talk a little bit to her about her red team physical pen testing, social engineering work, and see how she thinks gender plays a role in that. So we're going to get her on the podcast right now. So we have our guest on now, Sharon Conhidi. Nice to have you back, Sharon. How you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. And you?
Oh, we're doing great. And we were just talking a little bit before we had you on about our topic and about pen testing, social engineering, red teaming, and maybe the difference between the genders. But let's start off a little bit. You're in your practice, are you mainly doing in-person social engineering or phone, or is it split between the both? Like, what's the biggest part of your work?
Oh, it's a real mixture now. A few years ago, it was mainly physical social engineering, so trying to gain physical access to a building. But these days, there's lots of telephone, lots of call center attacks, and a lot of phishing assignments as well.
So when you're doing the physical side of SE, like you were a couple years ago more so, did you think that your gender had a large role to play in the success or even the failure of an attack?
I'm always asked this question, and I think you play up to whatever physical characteristics you have, whether it's if you're male or female, you're tall or short, you look imposing or not, you just play up to those characteristics. So I'm reluctant to say I'm any more successful because I'm a woman, because all the guys I know who do social engineering are equally as successful as I am. So I don't think we've reached the level of security awareness in society yet where your gender really matters.
See,
maybe in a few years when people become more aware, it'll be more of an advantage.
That's possible. That's possible. I would like to, we you know this, that we run the social engineering CTF at DEF CON every year, and this year we saw that call centers were a pretty hotbed for success when it came to the phone calls. And I think we've experienced the same thing when it comes to you and the business end too, that call centers tend to be a good avenue to attack when it comes to social engineering penetration testing.
Yeah.
What do you think that it does play a role in your gender plays a role in at least in those kind of attack vectors over the phone then, when it comes to call center?
Sure. I mean, call center staff are trained to be helpful, and they may even be measured on how many telephone calls they get through in a day. So they want to keep you happy and get you off the phone, regardless of if you're male or female. But I think it comes down to your telephone manner. And call center staff, in the end of the day, have a bit of a dull job. So anyone who strikes up a bit of a conversation with them, tries to get them off the script, has maybe a little bit of an advantage when it comes to social engineering. And I'd certainly say that as a woman and with an Irish accent as well, it's relatively easy for me to do that.
Yes. Do you get the call just in your area of the world, or do you ever get the call like American call centers?
Oh yeah, I get to call internationally.
So I would imagine that when you get the call over here in the States, that especially if you get guys on the phone, you probably have a larger percentage of success with the accent.
Yeah, they do like the accent, but it's quite funny because a lot of the time it takes people a while to figure out where I come from. So people love to play the game of guess where this lady caller is calling from.
Yes.
And I've had the most random suggestions. I've had Scottish, which is fair enough. It's pretty close to my accent. I've had Indian. I've had... Yeah, I've
Wow.
had Canadian, I've had Australian, you name it. But when people figure out that I'm Irish, that's a pretty useful talking tool. And funnily enough, a lot of call centres in Europe are based in Ireland. So a lot of the time I'll get through to Irish people, but then you can just play up what you have in common with them. So that works equally as well.
That's great. I wouldn't have thought Indian.
I
Ever.
know, I wouldn't have thought so either.
Yeah, that's one of the accents that I might not have gotten from your speech.
I thought for sure it was Indian. No, I'm kidding.
Man, Dave.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry, I was trying to be shocking.
Yeah. You're really shocking. Yeah, shockingly stupid. So let's see. We had like a whole list of questions, but I kind of took it off, just going right into the gender thing because I was really curious. Really curious about that. And it's not that I think that it plays such a huge role, but I mean, to me, it's an interesting area of study and research to see that if given the same target and the same area of the company, if a male and female social engineer were to like attack the same area of the same company, would the success ratio be different based on the genders? You know, and I guess it's kind of hard to really rate that unless you have that exact scenario to play
But what I
out.
will say about it is, I have to choose very different scenarios most of the time than any of my male colleagues choose. So I can't go in as a telecoms engineer, and I can't even go in as an IT security consultant, because when people look at me, they do not see a telecoms engineer or a security consultant. So I'm far more likely to go in as a secretary or a temp or even a cleaner, something like that. You know,
Wow.
absolutely playing up to prejudices and stereotypes, which is kind of irritating, but it does often work.
That is
No,
irritating. Go ahead.
It
Pam,
is
sorry.
very true, though, because in all the years I've sat at the reg desk at Black Hat, no one thinks that I'm quote unquote in charge. They sit there, they look at me, and they're like, "Oh, she's the nice." I hate to say this, she's gonna be the nice, quiet Asian girl, and I'm gonna ask her to go and do something for me. And I sit there and I listen to them and I smile at them, and then very soon a slew of very harsh and scathing words start to flow from my mouth. And they're like, and I always hear back, later on they go and tell everyone else who's at the show. So I thought that she was going to be this sweet little Asian girl, and then I asked her this question and she totally went off on me. So it's very true that when you play up to the stereotypes as to, I'm pretty sure, like as we say, the honey trap. Kind of cute, and everyone just kind of assumes that the little Asian girl who smiles and, looks all pretty is going to be that person. The easygoing, she's going to be the quiet one. She can get run over and bowled over, and, the pliant little Asian girl. And they're always a little bit shocked when it doesn't quite work out that way.
Definitely. About 5 minutes in, they figure out how evil you really are.
Exactly.
That is.
But I have tried to play, I'm very small, very petite, pretty much the size of a hobbit, I'd say. And when I've gone in trying to play really bossy roles, very intimidating roles, that doesn't work so well for me, even though in real life I'm really bossy, and ask anybody who knows me how bossy I am. But it doesn't work for me when I go in and do a physical social engineer, and I'm much better off playing up to my physical characteristics, going in as somebody soft and gentle and much more subservient, if you like.
Yeah, but that does have to be a little frustrating, though, especially considering that probably most of the people you're interacting with, your level of technical knowledge is far surpassing them, but you have to come in playing a floor cleaner or something just to get them to believe your pretext.
Yeah.
Huh.
And trying to find a pretext to get into a comms room, for example, can be kind of tricky, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how would you? Have you done that in the past?
I found different things, but I have been challenged, and I pretend that I'm lost. You know, I've just pretended that I've been looking for someone, tailgated my way in, or pretended that I had to check the fire extinguishers in every single room, for example.
That's kind of funny.
So-
Yeah, I can't really play that role of the cute person that is lost. I have a problem with that one.
Yeah.
I know.
think, you know, I think probably about the last thing to say on gender stereotypes is that I'm not sure it makes it any easier creating a pretext and actually executing your pretext. But if I get caught, or if it looks like I'm about to get caught, I think it's a lot easier being a woman, because I'm less threatening. People are less likely to take offense at where I am or what I've said or what I'm trying to do, and I can always turn on the damsel in distress.
I completely
I'm
agree with
not
that. I
sure
mean,
you guys can do this easily.
Chris does not look like he fits in anywhere. So, in doing social engineers, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, he's what Chris has got going for him is he can talk very well.
Yeah.
But I mean, look-wise, he's already a suspicious character. I mean, you want that guy walking through your building.
What? I'm the most.
He's always got that chain hanging from his belt.
Yeah.
That's a red flag.
Yep. Shock.
It's shocking. I'm the most dangerous man in America. Okay. I might as well bring it up because I know one of you are going to do it. Okay, so we also have with us Munya Conaventi. I think I said that right again. Did I do that right, Munya?
That was perfect.
Okay, and you run one of the security teams there at tell us again where you run that.
It's Integralis, which is a consulting firm out of Waltham, Massachusetts.
Excellent. So we were just talking with Sharon a little bit about the effect of gender on social engineering and physical pen testing, and then we even got into call centers, like when you have to do phone social engineering, and the effect that gender plays. And Sharon was telling us that, and this is unfortunate, but I guess it is a part of the facts, is that she oftentimes has to set her pretext up to be more, I hate to use the word, but she used it, so I will, more subservient roles, things like cleaning people or other roles that she might even be, that are just because of the way stereotypes are in the industry. If she came in as like a telecoms person, people might have more of a red flag up because of her gender and her size. Then she has to play those roles in order to pretext in. Do you find that to be something, in your practice, now you're coming from the other side of the coin here, that your gender or your physical appearance affects the pretext that you use when you do red teaming?
I can't say it's really played a big issue or even been something I need to consider regularly. I think my pretext as far as, being male is fairly, I'd call it an open book. I have the pick of, what my pretext should be, can be. So I think people are a little more receptive of male in any role, really.
Yeah, that's a little. I guess it's a shame to hear that, but I can't argue with it. I don't know about Jim and Dave and your experience. Do you think that's also matched what you've experienced?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, within some limitations, but given any given scenario, for just. This is how it is. I mean, a lot of these fields that we're working in are male dominated. So having a guy walk in and say that he's from blank doesn't really raise a lot of red flags.
Yeah. I guess that's. How about you, Dave? Same thing.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what scenario or situation you're in, but yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, we're very much a male-centric industry is the best way to put it. I mean, you don't have a lot of geek girls out there. I mean, there are, but you just don't see a lot of them,
Yeah, that kind of was our call to war last podcast too, was to kind of have more females in IT reach out. We did get a lot, tell you the truth, even in our survey. A lot of the people that are filling out the survey are saying that they're female, and we've had some email in after saying that they've been in programming or IT for years. It's just, I think that a lot of people do experience what Sharon said. She experiences in the social engineering end of it, or even in the IT end of it, stereotypes, people not expecting a woman to be able to do X, Y, Z because of gender, which is kind of sad to hear that that's actually the case. But
yeah,
I guess it's still a reality in what they have to deal with. And go ahead.
We collect stats at Black Hat about how many are female, how many are male, and it's not a question we actually ask in our when they register, but pretty much we think that the industry is maybe 10 or 15% female actually working in security. I mean, obviously there's a lot more people who are, in support roles, in administration and so on and so forth. But in the security field itself, it's still fairly tiny. And for a long time, it was like in the 1% to 3%, because think about how many female speakers we actually have at Black Hat. I can name all of them who've come in the last 10 years.
Chris Anegi.
Oh man!
I'm not going to even go there.
Thank you.
Sorry, used to be. I'm sorry, used to be.
Used to be. Yes, and actually we have some that used to be the other way are now female as well. And I can name those. But
Chris Anegi.
I don't even know why I invite you on anymore, Dave.
Yeah, it's definitely more of an eyebrow raiser. But, in places like Europe and actually in the Middle East, the number of females who practice in information and computer security is a lot higher than here in the U.S. And I don't know if it's just, schooling, the kind of things that our culture nurtures versus other cultures. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. Yeah, if a guy comes in and says he works for, is a programmer or nerd or a geek, it doesn't raise much eyebrows. If a girl says that, you also have a stereotype, right, about what kind of female is in this industry. There definitely is a stereotype for that female.
Yeah, that is interesting. That it is interesting to hear that. Yeah, I guess I could see it. I could see it. I hope that might be able to change down the road, but I don't know. It's an interesting topic. It's not the only thing, though, that I wanted to discuss, because it's not just about gender. It's also just about, we had this discussion a couple podcasts ago about with Kevin Mitnick about...
Is that if deception is required for social... Okay,
no,
sorry.
that wasn't that one.
Well, I was right on that.
We already buried that one because I'm right. But we talked to Kevin Mitnick about social engineering pen testing and the difficulty in selling it. Being that it's probably the easiest vector into any company, and all of us here probably could agree to that. You wonder why it's not audited more, it's not tested more, it's not sold more. Why companies, when they're setting up pen testing, they often refuse social engineering or phone calls or phishing as part of the pen test. And I guess we all had this discussion after we got off the phone with Kevin, that we were kind of shocked that even someone in his status or case that still has the same problems that we do, and just what we said, and kind of selling that as part of a service package. So maybe to Sharon and to Munya, we can talk a little bit about social engineering and that aspect. Like, do you find that it's difficult to get companies to sign up for social engineering penetration tests?
Yeah, I think it is a hard sell.
And why? Why do you think it's a hard sell, Sharon?
Sorry. I think that the things I get pushed back on are people say, oh, well, you will get in, so what's the point in doing it? That's one thing I get pushed back on.
That's always a good one, isn't it? You're going to succeed, so why?
Another major factor is that people feel it's slightly unethical, and they feel that it's a bit of a mean or nasty exercise to play on their staff sometimes. And we get pushed back a lot because of that. So a lot of the time, they start off wanting a social engineering test and end up asking for some security awareness training instead. And I think the final thing I get pushed back a lot on, well, as in any pen test, is budget. I think people think that social engineering is a very easy thing to do and you can do it in a day, in, out, job done. And that's not the case at all. You just go through it like any pen test. You've got your reconnaissance phase, you've got your execution, you've got your reporting. So it's not just in and out, and it may be a little more costly than people sometimes expect.
You know, that's an interesting point, because I was just talking to a guy the other day who was telling me that he does SE pen tests, and we had this discussion, and I made the comment about how, 50-60% of your time will be in information gathering, and he kind of got shocked, and he's like, why? I just spent a couple hours doing information gathering and launch attacks.
Yeah.
And I don't know, to me, I just thought it was standard. Like, you spend most of your time doing information gathering, and reconnaissance is the most important part of social engineering. And the more information you have, right, the more success you're going to have in your attack. And I think a lot of people don't get that. A lot of businesses don't get that.
You can still get lucky and just manage to tailgate your way into an organization with no preparation. But the more prepared you are, the better scenarios you're going to have, and the more likely you're going to be to succeed. Plus, the more holes in their security setup you're going to discover as well.
Right. I like to go less on luck and more on being prepared.
Exactly. Yeah.
You have more vectors. How about you, Munya? Do you experience the same type of problem?
Yeah, generally, it's been the exact same thing. Where you sit down with senior leadership and they just plain out tell you, well, listen, I know you're going to get in. I know it's weak. And pretty much I don't want to see that on my report. So let's test everything else. And this stuff here, I'll talk to you about it next year. And obviously next year it's the same thing and the same thing. But I think we're slowly kind of getting to a better place of trying to pitch the value in the physical work, just as you kind of tailor it together and put it into a complete package with, well, these are all the holes, and the threats that come from here can, lead into X, Y, and Z. And I think when you paint the big picture of, okay, someone walking past your sleeping security guard will lead to this and this and this, I think that maybe kind of gets the light bulb going as far as, okay, I guess it may seem like an obvious point of entry, but once they see, the extent of an attack that can be launched by someone just sneaking into the building, I think that kind of resonates with them for maybe getting future work in that area with the same company that previously declined it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too. Here's something that I was thinking about when you were talking, and this will be an interesting comparison between Munya and Sharon because of the international aspect. So Munya, let me ask you first: when you do SE pen test physical things, are you able to record, let's say, the conversations, either audio or video record of your physical attacks, and then use that as part of your reporting or showing like how you were able to obtain access to an area or a building?
I do. So a lot of my tests, I usually have kind of a plethora of different cameras, and so depending on what I'm going in as or whatever it is, I usually do wear a body camera of some sort. And what I've learned from a long time ago is what I focus on is kind of when I do the report, I make sure that I blur out people's faces or make it so that individual employees aren't identifiable.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. I also feel the same way about that. How about you, Sharon?
Pretty different kettle of fish over here, I think. In terms of any kind of video recording, I only do it if I've got permission, and most of the time I don't have permission. In the UK, you can't record people without their authorization, so that's largely a no-go. However, with the audio recording, like if I'm doing a call center, for example, at the beginning of the calls, there's often a little recording saying this telephone call may be recorded for training purposes. Mm-hmm. So if they've got a notice saying that the call may be recorded, then I can record it as well. So if it's a call center, yes. If it's just a random call to somebody in a help desk or receptionist, no.
So the legalities of it, you can't record video or audio unless you get permission from the actual employee? Like the company can't give you permission for their employees?
It's a bit of a grey area. So most companies prefer not to go there. I mean, in the terms and contracts, they may have something in there, or just walking around the building, there may be notices saying there's CCTV and you might be recorded. So in theory, we might be okay from that point of view, but most companies prefer not to risk it. I mean, it's a huge issue. I live in London, which is, I think, the city in the world where you're most recorded on CCTV.
So how do you provide proof when you're doing this kind of work for your clients?
If I'm physically inside a place, I leave a calling card, or I do take photographs. I just don't take photographs of individuals.
Okay. Interesting.
So can you record, let's say, and then just use the video that you captured to put still images in the report when there's not a person on there, or even the recording itself could get you in some legal trouble?
Even the recording itself could get me in trouble, so I'd much rather just take standard photos or take some shots with my mobile phone even.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, that is a big difference. I know in the States, we have recording, audio and video recording laws based on the state. The state can actually indicate whether you need to have two-party or one-party consent, and there's a lot of states throughout the U.S. that have one-party consent, which means that if I consent to be recorded, then I can record without your consent. But, legally I have to have, and in many states, and it's becoming more and more now, that you have to have both parties to consent in order to record a conversation, whether video or audio. But the company, at least this is my understanding, and I'm not a lawyer, so we would want to check with any legal staff that you had before you took this as legal advice. There's my disclaimer. But from my understanding is that a company can give the authorization to now record while on the premises, and because you work for them, that part of your employment contract is that like they can monitor your computer, they can record things. If they have cameras in the hallways, they can be with a reasonable understanding of privacy that a company can still record for training or educational purposes. Do you know, Dave? Because you're probably the most higher up in the corporate world here. Do you know if that tends to be the truth, or am I off base on that?
No, I mean everything you said I think sounds pretty accurate in nature. I mean, I wouldn't really say anything different. So so that's interesting to see the difference though in between the cultural areas. That now, are there other countries that you work in, Sharon, where that's not a problem?
Oh, it absolutely changes from country to country. When it comes to physical pen tests, in the UK so far, touch wood, I've been able to open people's desks, for example, just to see if there's a key or any passwords that they might keep on a post-it note, maybe in the top drawer of their desk. We know that's pretty common. When I went to Italy to do some testing last year, I wasn't allowed to open the desks. I went to another European country and I was allowed to open the desk but not look at what was inside. So it really, really changes from country to country.
That's interesting. So, I mean, I guess that, we really can't fix this, but it's just a topic of debate for me. It seems kind of silly that these laws exist because if the bad guys break in, they're not going to say, "Oh wait, I'm in Italy. I can't open the desk drawer," or I'm in so and so country. I can open, but I can't look, so I'll just shove my hand in there and hope to grab the right piece of paper. It doesn't seem to really benefit the companies to have those kinds of laws. When it comes to security auditing, because now you can't really help the person fix the problem. I mean, if inside the drawer is a sticky note with every password you use, that's of course the biggest security flaw you can have, and that can't be fixed because you won't be able to report on it. Seems kind of backwards if you ask me, but that's just me.
We are backwards, Chris.
I am. I'm backwards. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. So how about when you're doing physical pen testing or SE work, how far do you take fake identities? Let's start with Sharon. Like, how far do you take fake identities, whether it's a physical identity like a license or an ID badge, or just maybe even an online presence to prove your pretext or something like that? In the past, how far have you taken a fake identity in an SE pen test?
Oh, I create whole personas. And one tip, if you are creating a fake identity, is I always use my own first name, because if I ever end up going on site under that fake identity, I do want to respond if people say my name.
So you use so Sharon whatever, Sharon Smith. That's what you do.
So it's always Sharon something. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I use fake identities. I use fake ID, but I'll never use a real company, or I'll never pretend to be another real individual. It's always something made up. It might sound like a real individual or a real company. But again, that's to do with legal issues in the UK. For example, once I went in as a local council worker and I got into huge trouble because it's illegal to impersonate local council, any kind of government or law official person over here. So that was a bit tricky. But yeah, fake IDs, fake resumes, I love building them up. It's a little more awkward when it comes to social media and creating a fake presence. Because sometimes it's almost like entrapment. So I can't lure somebody from my target company into revealing information online, because then that's published online and I could get in trouble for that. And also at the end of the assignment, I have to somehow unfriend people if I've been friends with them during the course of that assignment. So it gets tricky when it comes to Facebook accounts or any kind of social media. But apart from that, yeah.
So do you ever have like an identity maybe that you've kept for a couple years that you can just pull out and use? So that way if someone did look you up, there's history online, there's pictures, there's other things that are involved in that person's identity.
Oh yeah, and I've boxes and boxes of ID cards as well.
Now what is the law?
I have an ID card printer too, which is pretty good.
Oh, yeah, which one do you use? Can you say?
I can't see it right now.
What's the legality of printing, like government sponsored, like over here, like a driver's license or something like that, over in that area? Can you have like a fake government issued ID?
I wouldn't go there. No.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't either. I'm just curious if the law changed.
Yeah.
Now, Munya, for you, how about have you had to create fake identities or fake ID even in your social engineering pen tests?
So I've created a lot of different personas, different IDs, but never a government issued ID. It's always company issued or something along those lines. And as far as kind of so I've done some incremental tests for companies where I do, 15 locations across the U.S. over time or whatever it may be in a 2-month or 6-month period. And with some of those, on some tests, just after being extremely successful, and it's like, well, I get that, your security posture is weak, but you still want me to test these other locations. In some of those cases, I started doing different things, like I'd create an ID badge with my persona, and this persona supports maybe a letter that I've sent them in the past. And so I'll create an ID badge and put a picture of someone of a different race on it, just to kind of start seeing like how much you can get away with. And so I've gone down that path as well when there are multiple incremental tests that have been extremely successful, just to see how bad the situation is, because obviously I've been successful with legitimate looking badges with pictures of me and things like that. But if I was to go into a different location with the exact same persona, except if you looked at my badge closely, you'd notice that the picture is, a completely different individual, different race, everything, would people notice, and people haven't. That's the amazing part of it. But yeah, I do take, creation of the personas pretty seriously, put a little time into it and a little research. I wouldn't say I go as far as social media creating anything on there, but as far as ID badges and company issued supplies, company issued, vans with the company logo that I made up and things like that, I've gone that far.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that people really do not look closely. I mean, you can really not have to take as much time with the badges, even when it comes to supposed security personnel. And many times they'll just kind of scan over it, look at it, and not really take a closer look at the details there.
Exactly.
That is interesting. I have seen that before in the past too. Yeah, I was just curious, with the fake IDs, because I just had a discussion with, Rob, and he's been a standard on the podcast here, came on a few times, and he works with the FBI, and I was curious of the legalities of having a government-issued, fake ID, like you're seeing like a fake driver's license or something to that effect. And of course, here in the States, that's a big no-no. You would not want to, it's like one of those weird things, owning it, okay, you're not going to get in trouble, but if you ever use it for anything and you get caught, it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have a big problem. You can run into a big problem. So I was just curious if that kind of changed over in your neck of the woods, Sharon. But obviously, it's the same. Now, when it comes to the physical pen testing that you've done in the past, I mean, I'd be kind of shocked with this answer. So maybe let's start with Munya. Have you ever had to do things like scale a fence, break a window, pick a lock? Like actually physically break into a place to gain access to an area that you were supposed to be testing?
I have scaled fences. I have picked locks. Never broken anything as far as windows or. I know picking locks, obviously you have a good chance of destroying the lock, but I'll try to avoid actually destroying anything. But yeah, I've picked stuff, shimmed doors. A lot of the times what I've seen is the actual physical doors are usually never locked, but I have picked filing cabinets and the like as well.
Excellent. How about you, Sharon?
100% with Munya there, in that you would never break anything or create any kind of denial of service situation where a door couldn't be used after you tried to lockpick it, for example. So yeah, I've scaled fences, or mostly in my case I've tried to go under them or squeeze through small areas. But when it comes to lockpicking, that's another grey area in the UK, so we don't do that because you can't carry lockpicks.
Really?
Which it makes the social engineering over here sound very dull, doesn't it?
Yeah, that amazes me. You can't carry lockpicks. Carrying lockpicks
unless you're an authorized locksmith, obviously.
Wow. So even like,
and they do spot checks in London. They do spot checks on the tube to see what's in your bag. Ever since we had those bombings a number of years ago,
they have the right to do that.
Oh
yeah,
wow!
They do. Yeah.
Wow, that actually, you just shocked me there. That's shocking.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
no, I've never been searched, and I think being a small petite woman again, I'd probably get away with it, especially if I put it in with some nail files or something like that. But really don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
It makes your job a lot tougher.
Yeah.
You have like half or a third the tools that we here in the United States can utilize.
Yeah, that just kind of blew me away. That's amazing. I just was I took a flight recently, and on my keychain I have one of these like little pocket lockpick sets. It's like, looks like a little pocket knife, but then you unfold it and it has all the lockpicks inside, and the thing slides out. And it was on there, and I just forgot to take it off. Normally I take it off and don't travel with it because they get all worried that it's going to be some kind of knife or something on the plane. And I went through security, and the guy says, "What's this? We might have to take this." And I had to take it apart and show them, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool. Why do you have a lockpick set?" And I gave them a business card, and they're like, "Oh, okay, have a good day." I can't imagine like being arrested, or like that becoming against the law now to carry something like that. That like even lockpicking a file cabinet or a desk drawer or something. Not even to have
a lot
that.
of people carry them anyway.
Yeah.
And I think we've yet to see anyone prosecuted, but a lot of people from pen test companies just don't bother, just in case.
Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting. I agree with, though, the breaking of things. I mean, obviously, that would be, like you said, I'd like that phrase, like a denial of service to any extent. But how about taking things? Have you ever been tasked to, like, let's say, take a server or take a pile of papers, or actually remove something from the office that you bring then to the reporting meeting to say, look, here's how successful we were. We stole these plans to your nuclear missile or something like that. You ever had to do that, Sharon?
Yeah, trophy gathering is pretty common, but we do have to agree in advance what we're going after, and if we see anything that looks like it has any kind of sensitive information, if we're allowed to take it off site or not. So sometimes we can take it off site, and indeed we're tasked with taking it off site. Sometimes we can take a photo of whatever document seems to look kind of sensitive. And sometimes it's just a case of leaving a calling card in there, and we're not allowed to take anything off site.
Excellent. How about you, Munya?
Yeah, I usually don't come across where I have to take anything off site. I have on an occasion come across situations where I was tasked with removing boxes of paperwork with sensitive information in them and getting them off site without alarming the establishment. So in those kind of cases, I used a pretext where I was from a company that was hired by corporate, and we're about to turn all these papers into digital format. So we're going to take them off site for an hour, and we'll be right back with them. So, we took them off site. They sat in the car while we drove around for a couple hours and brought them back, dropped them off. And that was it. So I've never actually taken anything off that I've kept and presented during the report or anything like that.
That's a great pretext, though, by the way. document scanning company. I like that.
Yeah, it's great. You include a letter that you send a couple of days ahead of time, telling them that you're going to be on site, and corporates, finally making that move, and it works.
How about
I think if I'm going to take something off site and it hasn't explicitly been agreed in advance, I might target something like an internal newspaper or some kind of newsletter that's for internal use, but it's not particularly sensitive.
So is that just because of your own personal, or is that like another legal thing over there, or?
It's just once you take sensitive information off site, you're responsible for keeping it sensitive.
Right.
And it gets a bit blurred again from a legal point of view.
Yeah, even if it wasn't your fault, if something ended up on the web after that, you'd probably be getting the blame for it.
You may do, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that happening. How about costumes? Do you tend to use costumes when it comes to your pretext, or when you're doing physical SE work? How important are they and to use in physical SE? Let's start with Munya. I started with Sharon last time, so we'll start with Munya.
Yeah, I do use costumes a fair amount, and I think costumes work great, right? Because they add a different aspect to you entering an establishment. And one situation for me that comes to mind when I went in a costume with two other guys is, we went in and we were dressed in jumpsuits, and we had two of the bug spraying jugs filled with water with blue food coloring, and we could isolate ourselves just based on the pretext of saying, we're from the leasing company of the building, and we need to fumigate this specific room. And when we start putting on masks and stuff before we're about to start spraying this water, people leave. You tell you just step outside, and the fumes are going to be heavy, and give it about a half hour, and that gives you isolated access to this individual room. And whether it's the server room or an office that holds safes and things like that, you're alone with those items, with knowing that no one's going to come in because you told them we're fumigating this room. So we've done that, and we've done additional uniforms where we had the measuring stick that they use, like road crews use, and use that to kind of go through an entire building, telling them that there's a discrepancy between the landlord and and your company. So we need to make sure we get the square footage of the entire building. And
They're
that's
coming
another
for
way.
you.
That's another way of, the guy can follow you around for, sometimes it's about just waiting it out. So the guy knows he's supposed to follow you around, and 2 hours into it, he's done. He's got other things to do. So he'll tell you, well, you pretty much know the rest of the building, so let me know if you need anything. And that's another thing that comes in a lot that you see, is that If you're pretexting and you're willing to kind of wait it out, you'll notice that in a lot of situations, people will start out doing their due diligence of, yep, I need to escort you, I need to do this. But the longer you're there and the longer you're supposedly doing what you need to do, people finally, just give up and say, hey, listen, I'll be at my desk if you need anything. Give me a call or whatever when you're done.
Right. I agree with that. How about for you, Sharon? How important are costumes in your social engineering?
Well, costumes are like some kind of invisibility cloak.
I love that.
You put on the costume, you got a superpower that makes you invisible all of a sudden, and people don't see it; they just see the costume.
That's great, invisibility cloak. I like that quote. We're gonna have to reuse that.
Yeah, we've got a dressing up box in the office. We've got hard hats, yellow jackets, cleaning aprons. I've got chef's hats for working in the canteen. But a lot of the time, your costume might be wearing a suit if everybody in a particular building is wearing a suit, or equally going in jeans and a t-shirt if that's what people wear.
That is excellent. Yeah, I can definitely see that being a very important aspect to it. And I don't want to jump back to the gender thing, but I'm just curious: does gender play a role in the type of costume maybe that would make more or less effective in an SE gig, do you think?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I just look ridiculous in a hard hat and a yellow jacket.
So you're the cleaning lady from now on. Now that's pretty much what it is. I had a little question about this because the vast differences in between the UK and the US regarding what you can and can't do. Really, Susan, what's most of the work that you do versus Munya? I mean, your client base. I'm really interested to see, are most of the people who are hiring in the U.S. going to be mostly, I would say, financial institutions versus in the U.K., are your clients mostly insurance companies?
I think it's a lot of financials for me because of all the regulatory requirements that drive it, and a lot of government for a similar reason. And then we get the odd one that might be healthcare, sports, pretty random selection.
How about you, Munya?
Yeah, for me, it's kind of across a lot of financial and a lot of retail, along with, here and there, kind of the healthcare and hospitals and things like that. I've done a few of those, but a lot of it, I would say, is, in the financial and retail for me.
So, now, to me, at least I can't speak from where Sharon's from, of course, but in the U.S., especially when you talk about financial, there's a lot of regulations and laws and what you can and can't take. Taking anything that has Social Security numbers on it, accessing anything that has personal identifying information on it could be a big risk when it comes to pen testing a financial institution. And removing those things from the scene could warrant you some trouble that you don't want. Yeah. I'm sure in the UK it's probably similar, sounding like you guys have a lot more stricter rules over there than we do here.
Yeah.
Do you think that your gender determines the type of assignment that you get, the type of gig that you get?
I don't think so. One of the best gigs I ever had, not sure if I told you about this before, was when a client came to me and said, all of our staff go drinking down in this sports and social club every Friday night, so we'd like you to go down there and listen to what they're saying. So we want to know if they're talking about sensitive information, if they're talking about any projects that they're working on from a business point of view. So I don't think that could have been because I was Irish rather than because I was a woman that they wanted me to go down the pub. I came back with all that information, and the follow-up was, okay, well, a lot of them go to the gym at lunchtime. They go down and they like to spend a lot of time in the steam room and the jacuzzi. So can you go down there as well and listen to what they're saying? And at that stage, I got a little concerned because I put a lot of photos in my reports. Wasn't so sure about that one.
So yeah, that was interesting. How about you, Munya? Do you think that gender affects the kind of gigs you get?
No, and I think, like I said, that, given the gender differences that we've already pointed out, that being a male, because the book of options is open to me, it does. There really are no limitations as to this gig over that gig, just because people are comfortable with a male. From the perception of pen testing, people are comfortable with whatever role you come in as, and so because you have more options, there's few situations where you could be like, well, I don't really know what I would go in as. So.
Yeah, interesting.
And so when it comes time to wrap everything up and then give this information back to the customer, and you go through that reporting cycle, how do you handle that? How do you make sure that you don't get any particular employee in trouble unless they clearly deserve it? And how do you put together your report so that way your customer feels like they're getting a good value?
So this is so for me, the way I do that is, like I said, with pictures and videos and all that I include in my reports, I make sure that interactions are detailed so you can see a person, letting me into a room or giving me their ID badge to go, to a room that I shouldn't be. But I always make sure that it's edited appropriately so no individual employee is identifiable. And I always make sure that, names and things like that are removed and the value for me just comes to, out of, let's say, a company of 5,000 people, I've just shown you 5 different sites and, roughly 8 different specific individuals that you can identify who clearly have no idea what they should or should not be doing. So, the value comes in that this is an example of the issue is real and it spans your environment and your enterprise, so it's a greater issue of getting your employees educated across the board, and I think that's where the value comes. So my reports are just very detailed, but lack the ability to identify any individual employee unless it's specifically necessary.
How about you, Sharon?
I would never name an employee, but I think a lot of the time it's quite easy by process of elimination to figure out who they were and who I have targeted. But companies say to me, oh, should we let them go? What should we do with these people? If it's a security guard, he wasn't doing his job or she wasn't doing her job, should we let them go? And I would say, no way. These guys have been social engineered. Tell them what's happened. Tell them about social engineering. They'll realise they've been stung and there's no better protection.
Yeah, I find the case that when you're done with your audit, with your pen test, that those who actually fell for it are probably at that point in time the most secure people in the company. They know they fell for it, right? They know they were duped, and now they're on their toes because they're nervous and they're scared, and they're watching every phone call, every email, every interaction with a person more closely than ever before. So getting rid of that person and replacing them with a brand new person is going to open up a security hole that you probably don't want.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
I do have a question, which is how, since you're both basically professional social engineers, do you separate your professional from your personal life? I mean, as in, are you deploying your social engineering skills when you're going on a date or when you're with your significant other or with your family?
For me, I think I do think about it a lot. There's a lot of situations that, an example is, I was in Vegas not too long ago, and we were waiting for a cab, and there's this huge line, and I happened to observe that, the guy who was hailing the cabs outside the hotel, he had a short line that was pretty much empty for Gold Card members. And because the line is so long, I was tempted to go to the Gold Card member line because I noticed he was stopping the cabs first. Then he'd have you show him your Gold Card, and then you could jump in. But obviously, if he, with a long line waiting in the regular line, if he was to stop a cab and I started fumbling around trying to find my Gold Card, it's a stressful situation. He would more than likely tell me, all right, get in the cab next time, have it ready. So I think for me, I try not to, but I do think about it a lot more often than maybe I should.
Now you've been banned from Vegas.
Exactly.
How about you, Sharon?
Well, Yeah, I'd never stand in a queue. I suddenly find myself in places and then realize that I've just social engineered or sneaked my way past without even being aware of it myself. I was in a sports club with my dad and we ended up in some kind of private members area, and he says, Sharon, I just did social engineering. See what we just did. And I hadn't even realised. As for if I use it on a date or with my other half, I would never kiss and tell.
Yeah. Yeah, he might listen, right?
Well, usually he says, don't try any of that stuff on me.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, I know we're running close on the time. So, Sharon, I really appreciate you coming on. I want to know, how can people find out more about you? And, yeah, let's start with that. How can people find out more about you or learn about what's going on with you?
Sure. You can look at my company website. It's firstdefenseis.com. That's First Defense with a C. And also I teach regular social engineering training classes, either from an awareness point of view or for people who are looking to find out how to perform social engineering tests. And the next training class I'm teaching is at DeepSec in Vienna later this month. And I believe that the organisers of DeepSec have given a promotion code for listeners of this podcast to get a 10% discount.
That's awesome.
I guess it's complicated code, so maybe you guys could publish it on the website.
I will. I think you sent it
Thank
to me.
you.
I'll say it here, but we'll put it in the podcast notes. It's SOCENG, so like social engineer dash RITNG. It is complicated, so if you can actually social engineer the code out of us, we'll give you 10%. No, just kidding. And we'll put it in the podcast notes for anyone who's interested in signing up for that class. And that's when you said at the end of this month?
That is the 15th of November.
15th of November
Starting
in
then.
Vienna.
Yeah.
Excellent. And just to reiterate, First Defense for us Americans, they spell defense with a C, not with an S. So if you try to go to First Defense with an S, you might get a different site. Thank you so much, Sharon, for coming on and being able to talk to us about this again. We always appreciate having you on the podcast. Some great information here on that, too. We really appreciate it. And
No problem. Good talking to you.
Yep. And Munya, on you, how can people find out more about what's going on with you, or if they want to follow what you're doing, contact you, how can they do that?
So yeah, information is available on integralis.com, which is integralis.com, and then also on my blog, which is compu6.blogspot.com.
Excellent. And if you have anything, like any classes or anything you'd like to talk about now, you can do that. If not, people could check you out on your blog and see where you're going to be next, or what you got going on with your social engineering.
Yeah, exactly.
practice.
I mean, just look me up and you'll get a feel for, where and when.
Excellent. Sharon, Munya, we really, really appreciate your time, guys. It's been a great podcast and a good discussion on this topic, and hopefully we'll be able to do it again, get some more details on how we can get social engineering to be one of those things that people just start to accept and use as part of a standard pen testing practice.
Definitely. Thanks a lot for having us.
Not a problem.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Anyhow, great podcast. Another great group of guests.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I just love Sharon's accent. I really do.
I mean, I think the whole podcast really tailored around my point, which is social engineering does not require deception. So,
What? It doesn't have anything
I mean,
to do with that.
it was a great testament to that.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
especially since she's not allowed to use any deception.
That's
gosh.
right.
She is too. She's
That's
not
right.
allowed to use lockpicks or force or anything.
No, it pretty much proved everything I've been talking about for the past few months. So
That
I was really happy
Ping
about
A?
that.
Oh man, you all stink. Go ahead, Dave. What's your story?
Oh no, but I just gotta say I'm a little frustrated. I've been working probably the past 3 or 4 weeks to get this article out, and really they only gave me like one little blurb, and here's the blurb that came out of this article. It's shocking how much confidential information companies post on the internet. I'm really just bummed out about that article.
Dave. See, here's where your failure is. Here's where your failure is with this. is that normally what you do is you repeat a story that I told on the podcast so
Right.
that everyone realizes you're repeating me, but no one knows this story. So right now I can just play this up and say, yeah, I'm sorry you're disappointed, David.
Guess what?
What?
You did exactly what I wanted to happen.
Yeah, what's that?
You just explained the entire thing.
Yeah, well, the whole thing's getting cut out, so it doesn't matter.
You can't cut this out. You'd be depriving our fans of a very good
Oh,
talk.
man.
No, but why don't you tell a full story, Chris?
Yeah, well, I don't want to act like I'm disappointed because here the end of the deal is that we had a great interview with the Wall Street Journal, and to me that's a major deal. The Wall Street Journal was interested in social engineering. They were interested in the SECTF, and they contacted us and wanted to talk about why it's a danger and what it's about and what the CTF was about. And in the interim, they wanted to talk not just to me as a social engineer, but to other security industry experts. So I hooked them up with Dave, with Chris Patton, with a couple other people, and they did some nice interviews talking to the winner of the SECTF, Shane. And I was a little disappointed when the article came out, and there was like one little blurb from me about the SECTF since we had talked for like 3 weeks about social engineering.
Specifically, it said, it's shocking how much confidential information posted companies post on the internet, said Chris Nagy, social-engineer.org founder. That's it.
But the nice part is they did link to the SECTF report, which probably increased the downloads by several thousand. What I'm finding amazing is I stole the idea from Backtrack. Like I have a registration page if you want to register for the report, but underneath that there's a link where you can download the report without registering. But I don't think people have figured that out yet. So, no one's like downloaded it without registering. That's kind of funny to me. Anyhow.
It's shocking.
Shocking. I'm shocked. Anyhow, back to the podcast.
So what's surprising to me is that you're still shocked.
Yeah, I mean, it is a completely shocking thing for me.
I'm not.
You at this point, I think you'd be jaded.
I'm not really shocked.
But you said you were shocked, so you're still like
Shocking.
surprised at how much companies are putting out there.
Well, here was my surprise when we did it. I figured from last year we would see some improvement, even if it was a small fraction of a percent. We called even some of the same companies from last year, and I thought, okay, we're going to see some of those same companies smacking us down, or it will be a little different, or there'll be some marked improvement on it, and there wasn't. It was probably the results were just as bad as the first year.
But you know what? There was a report that came out a couple of days ago, and I didn't read it. I earmarked it. I'll have to go find it, about how companies reported less intrusions, like less defacement. And I don't know if that probably doesn't include social engineering.
Probably not.
But, I mean, well, of course not. There's too much turnover. I don't see how we can expect that the numbers would go down because people will be using more, because every time someone gets a new smartphone and thinks, nothing of like posting where they are all times and all this crap, there's too much turnover in companies, and people, they don't have training programs. They don't have anything in place, which is great for us, right? It's continual income, but it's kind of, with all the stats that are out there, they don't look.
PG. Yeah, great thing. 2 years I had to keep Dave in line, and now I got to work again to keep someone else in line.
Bing, here, I'll help you out.
Oh, come on. Stop.
I did not say that. I didn't do it.
Dave.
Sorry. I just did it once. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, it is pretty bad that is the case, unfortunately. Oh, man, you guys just wreck it, I tell you. Wreck it.
What if we cuss in a different language?
No, don't, because there's people.
Yeah, because most of our viewers are in the United States.
It's
I
not.
mean, hang on.
No, a lot of our listeners
to swear
just say
in
cuteness.
Russian.
No, a lot of our listeners come from other countries.
Okay, I got.
No, can you please stop?
That's a Russian
Just
swear
saying
for on your.
Stop! You're just saying it in English now. I mean,
I'm sorry.
When you
I'm sorry.
translate it, it doesn't.
Sorry.
Can you stop?
I'm sorry.
Okay, and listen, guys. Oh God, we gotta talk a little bit about the podcast, right? I mean, it was good information that I really enjoyed.
Okay, you're like, wrap it up.
Basically, you're saying wrap it up. Pencils down, wrap it up.
I'm saying that, Dave has got a corporate job. He's got to go to work. I got a conference call in a little bit, and I want to make sure we have our good conversation about the podcast. This is what our listeners expect, not a bunch of Russian curse words.
They do actually expect a bunch of Russian.
No, they don't. You know what I said?
Okay. All right,
That's
slave driver.
New
back,
poll.
back.
Slave driver.
New poll.
Slave driver. This is, I tell you.
Hey,
Okay, we'll stop vortexing.
It's time for a new poll. Do our listeners expect Russian swear words on the
No,
podcast?
I'm not doing that poll. No. Do our listeners expect Russian swear words? I mean, what kind of a poll is that? It's ridiculous.
All right, I'll keep it PG. I guess that's a swear. It's not a swear word though.
I have this great new technology. I really do. Ming, who's one of the interns, went online and did all this research on how to make the podcast better quality. So right now, what Skype and Audio Hijack are doing is they're recording me on one channel and everybody else on another channel. No joke. This is not a joke. So I actually can cut out that whole last section of you guys and just have me talking right now. Isn't that wonderful?
Nah, I mean it's okay.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Would you stop?
What?
But you just put in the Skype chat. Hey, Jim, can you help me out here? Is there anything intelligent we need to talk about when it comes to the podcast?
It was so good.
Oh, man.
It was shocking.
I tell you, your ball bearings are loose. I mean it.
No, listen. I mean, I think that the podcast actually went really good. I mean, I think you can pretty much sum it up with.
No. See, Bruce Hornsby means that the podcast stunk.
No. It means it was really good. It related with people.
I think it changes lives.
It changes. Actually, I've had people tell me it changed their life. I'm not even kidding with that. That's kind of scary if you ask me.
I don't want to know what their life was like before the podcast.
But you know what? We just need to have the thunderbolt sound, the lightning strike sound, so that when Chris is pissed off,
Oh, I like that.
you can hit the thunderbolt, the lightning striking sound.
Yes, like obey me and whoosh.
Exactly.
Dave, there's your next job for the next podcast.
And it becomes very Pavlovian,
yeah.
so that every time you hit it, we'll learn to be like, okay, stop vortexing.
It's time to really stop doing it.
Yeah, and then after a year, I'll just when you guys hear lightning outside, you'll just call me and say, "What can I do, sir?" It'll be great. I'll have brainwashed little minions.
Right. In your dreams.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Now that we do have one thing that we should mention,
Yes.
which is MTV now aired a new episode of Beavis and Butthead.
What?
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
What
You
does
guys
that
know
got to do with SE?
Well, nothing, but it's important.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah, listen, those guys can get into anywhere. In fact, I wonder if we can get Mike Judge on here to do a Beavis and Butthead interview. That'd be cool.
Dude, that would be awesome.
That would be really cool.
I am Cornholio.
I doubt he would do a podcast, but it'd be kind of neat.
I doubt it too. Hey, see if you can reach out to him, Dave.
I'm gonna try.
That would be pretty awesome. So besides the podcast, let's talk a little bit about again. We'll put all the things up there on the notes for Sharon's class. You can also check out our class again on the social-engineer.com site. Don't forget to check out the Brad page on the updates and any more help that anybody wants to give with that on the social-engineer.org/Brad Smith donation page. You can check that out, or just go to the seorg.org site and there's a link right there, a button on the side you can click to get to that. Anything else we need to talk about before we wrap it up, guys? Is there any other stuff?
Do you want to talk about any of the offensive security classes again?
Well, we did. We mentioned the one in Portugal, the AW class, as well as right now I think the big one is the St. Kitts class.
Yep.
There's only 2 seats left in that. So it's PWB. I didn't mention that before, but we should mention that it's PWB in St. Kitts. And it's at the end of November. So if you live anywhere in the northeast part of the U.S., you know it's going to be really garbage weather at the end of November. Rainy, cold, snow even.
Yep.
And what better thing to do than to fly down to the beautiful paradisaic area of St. Kitts and get abused for 5 days by mutts.
Mm-hmm.
It just sounds like...
Well, I mean, you had me up until that point.
Everyone loves that. Come on. That's like the best part.
Best.
The best. So that great Ping. Nice having you as part of the group.
Well, thank you.
Yep, you were
was
not,
fun.
You know, besides the quickness of you jumping on the bandwagon with Jim and Dave.
She fit right in, by the way. I have to mention, I mean, there was no pause. It was awesome.
Honey trap.
You know, the only reason I actually brought her on is I thought she was going to be a subservient little Asian, but I guess that she tricked me, and that didn't happen. You know, and now I'm stuck with another Jim and Dave wannabe.
Chris, I think you know what. I think that what that says is that
You keep
everybody's
picking the wrong people.
Yeah, for that, we're all relatively normal, and Chris is just a tight person.
Type A person.
I stopped myself.
Thank
from
you.
swearing, Chris.
Thank you. You know, that was nice of you, Dave. Oh, man, why do you give yourself credit for stopping and then follow through?
It's better that way.
It's better that way. Oh, God, you guys are killing me. I tell you. And now you typed that Russian stuff in the chat with the guests. So now the guests have these Russian curse words.
Well, he'll probably use it on an SE engagement.
I doubt it. Oh man. Okay, so if you're interested in the outro music, again, as well as the intro music, which is the same song by Dual Core, it's called "Trust Me." You know what's nice? Those guys wrote that song just for us.
Just for me, actually.
Yeah, just for Jim and for
Dual
the
Core is
SE
2
podcast.
people.
Yeah, I just said that. Those guys. I just said Dual Core. Those guys. Plural guys.
But you also talk about yourself in a plural manner as well.
I do. When did I say that?
Oh, you always talk about yourself in a plural manner.
What are you talking about? I was talking
in the
about
third person plural.
What?
You always do that.
I never
don't
do
understand
that.
it. Yeah.
Never ever do that.
I don't quite get it, but it's common.
You see that Ping? You see the frustration I got to deal with?
Why, yes. Although it's really hard to see past this melting corrugated box that I'm actually currently huddling under.
Oh man, I'll send you a couple bitcoins as a donation.
Why, thank you.
No problem. Anyhow, dualcoremusic.com. You can check out both people in Dual Core and the music that they have there. And they have the whole song, Trust Me, that they wrote for us as free on their website. You can download, and some of their other music you can check out there too. You can always continue to check out the newsletter if you haven't signed up for it yet, social-engineer.org on the newsletter section, and of course our classes or other services on social-engineer.com.
And you said that there's something special in the newsletter coming, didn't you?
I did.
Something special only for the subscribers.
I did.
That's what you were saying before, yeah?
Yeah, something very special. We'll have to figure out what that is, Jim, and then put it in
Now
the
you're on the
newsletter.
hook.
It will be a 0.5% discount on my upcoming class in Seattle. You will get 50 cents off if you read the free newsletter.
How will you have proof that they read the free newsletter?
They'll come to me and they'll give me the one sentence that's in the middle of the newsletter hidden that will indicate what they need to say to me. I don't know.
It'll be like the old, you got to go to this website, and what's the fourth word on the third paragraph?
Oh, I hate those captures.
Which will be commented out so they actually don't see it unless they look at the code of the HTML.
Yeah, I'm not giving up 0.5%. Are you kidding?
Taxman doesn't forgive you for it.
Social-engineer.org, social-engineer.com. On Freenode Network, we are channel social-engineer. On Twitter, we're Human Hacker. I think that's about the only way you can get a hold of us, all the different ways you can get a hold of us. Keep sending in your ideas and comments to contribute at social-engineer.org. And until next month,
To
see you
employees is the
guys.
best when I'm calling random users and claiming I'm a tech. He's just here to help. So they're easily believing him. Jamming, planning, scamming, spanning every single medium. Recording while I'm spidering your phone menu system. The mirror it and use it for my own acquisition. Get them on the line. I just do a little switching. Sending out my number in the message when I'm fishing. 6 billion people, it's really quite a market. Customers, employees, everyone's a target. Backing up my claims, using all the common slang. Lingo for the layout, drop the manager's name. Collecting all the sweet stuff like honey to a bumblebee. Like every unlisted number dialed to your company. You saw me, you probably think I'm clumsy, but I'm not. Cause I'm dropping all these USB drives around the parking lot.
Whoops.
I'm gonna use every every trick in the book. I'll try my best to get you hooked. I'm gonna use every trick in the book. I'll try my best to get you. I'm gonna use every trick in the book. I'll try my best to get you hooked. I'm gonna use every trick in the